when you're not very academic, when you're in a school that you've been told you're thick, you're stupid, you're an idiot. I was always the quiet one at school.
James Martin, everybody.
You've built a global personal brand, authored 20 plus books, opened multiple restaurants and built a sensational collection of cars.
My granddad turned around to me and said, what do you want to do when you get older? I want to be head chef at 25, I want my own business at 30, at Ferrari when I was 35. My diary's 3/4 full in 2027. We're not even 2026 yet. And I was working 18 hours a day and I was doing that 7 days a week. I just stand there and cook and talk on television. But what's important to me than anything is
James, from humble beginnings on a farm in Yorkshire, you've built a global personal brand, authored 20 plus books, opened multiple restaurants and built a sensational collection of cars. But that's just from my perspective. So in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
I cook for a living. I wasn't very good at anything really at school. I wasn't very academic for sure. I was dyslexic. Didn't realise I was dyslexic until I was 23, so 33. Never read a book in my entire life. Written 38 of them, but never read a book in my entire life. I had a great childhood for sure, but I knew at a young age the only way that you were going to achieve anything in life was to work hard at it. Because I knew from a young age, and my grandparents had nothing. My parents were tenant pig farmers, so there was no financial income going to come from either of that side. Well, that side of the family to not rely on, but a lot of youngsters nowadays look into their parents. I knew from 6, 7, 8 years old that was not going to happen. So I knew the ethics of work. My grandparents were hard workers. My parents are hard workers. So I was surrounded by people that work hard, and I think that ethos sort of I had that imprinted in me from the age of 6, 7, and even more so when you're not very academic, when you're in a school that you've been told you're thick, you're stupid, you're an idiot. I was always the quiet one at school. You know, there's a group of kids at school that were quite quiet. I was that person. It's very different to what now is. Now you're on television in front of millions and on tour and stuff like that, on stage and everything else. But back then I was always the quiet one. There was 5 of us in the school class that were all in that sort of similar group. Amazing times, but it certainly built me to what I am now, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's amazing to think most of us look at people at school and we pick out like the dominant kind of crazy characters that are full of energy and would pick those people to be the ones on screen under lots of pressure, delivering those kind of live moments and everything else that you've done. But when you actually bring it back, so much can change in the course of someone's journey.
Yeah, it was the opposite of school, really. I mean, David Coates was the guy at school. He's a mate of mine now. He was the sportsman at school, the one that everybody looked up to. The girls looked up to him, the guys looked up to him. Very different to what it's almost gone, flipped full circle in terms of what you achieved in life. And I think I was with a group of probably 4 or 5 of them that we all had a similar sort of mental ethos. We weren't geeks. I wasn't a computer geek, and this is before mobile phones, before the internet, before any of that. So this is before anything, really. It was just that you just had an imprint. It's difficult to describe, really. I just had this imprint in my brain that I wanted to be a chef from a young age. I started in the kitchen when I was 9 years old. My dad put me on the pot wash when I was 9. That's the mentality that Yorkshire farmers had, and some of them still have. When you can walk, you can work. I'm not paying your pocket money. You get out and work, and you work hard at it. And then I think at that age, you either love it or hate it. And I say to the younger generation now that want to get into catering, the best way to do it is go into a restaurant. You don't go to university, you don't go to college, you're not going to learn anything. I don't mean to be rude to colleges, but you're not. The best way to learn is in the industry.
You learn on the job.
But also you'll learn at a young age to then make a decision when you're 16, 17, 18 to go, this is not what I want to do. Don't do it 10, 12 years old. Don't do it when you're 16. Because when you're 16, 17, it's too late to change your mind. Or it can be. So just have that little tester. That's what I had. I just was quite fortunate. My family were sort of quite well connected in sort of catering. I worked at a place called the Michelin Spat in Gothland when I was 10, working with Brian Turner and Keith Floyd. And I was 10 years old in the kitchen. And I didn't really, there was no real TV stuff about then. But these people were famous. They're famous chefs coming up. Never wanted to be that at all. I just wanted to work in a kitchen. And then from 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, my dad then sent me to France and I worked in Michelin star restaurants. And then I just knew when I left school at 16 with 0 qualifications, I had absolutely none. Failed cookery at school, nothing. I just had enough qualifications to get you into catering college. And back then, catering college, well, what it was different to what it is now. Because it was run like a military organisation. You were late for my lesson and under Ken Alson, you knew about it. Yeah, you were only late once. And you were late twice, you were kicked out. And it was almost that sort of Karate Kid moment. I keep looking at that film thinking that was the defining moment in my life, really, when I learned the respect and the industry, the respect for your ingredients, respect for the team, respect that. I learned that just as soon as I finished school at 16.
I think everybody that I speak to in the back of this van, the things that they learnt the most in their earliest years wasn't the actual recipe. It was the ethos of how you should do that recipe. You cook it with passion. You cook it with...
There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to life. If you want to learn something, you'll notice if you speak to anybody that's done very well in their life, there's very, very few that have had shortcuts. There's few that have had all combination of risk, and that's part of your job. But part of that is believing in yourself, and it's not an arrogance thing. It's just going, I believe in myself. It's like the sportsman mentality. I'm not a sportsman, but I know that I'm as good as anybody else.
Are you as competitive as everyone else?
Not as competitive. No, I was never competitive at school, but it's that mutual respect for everybody, and they have for you, because the industry is not a competitive game. So my industry is not a people think the chefs are out to outdo each other. It's absolutely couldn't be further from the truth. It's an industry that is so close-knit at the top, at that level, but they're all mates, they're all friends. You've probably seen on the internet that, you know, I'm doing dinners at Sat Baines's house at restaurant to help him out. I'm at, you know, you're always doing favors for everybody else, and they're vice versa. So there's no financial gain. It's just that I respect you. I respect you for asking me to do it, and I'm willing to do it. I'll do it for you for nothing. It's not, you know, that's the mentality our industry have. It's you give and take, but you predominantly give a lot all the time.
Our worlds, when we form, everything that you've just gone through there, some proper key fundamental moments, are a lot like recipes. Mm-hmm. There's pieces to them that if you miss it out, it just won't come together.
Yep.
Now I can clearly see like a load of the pieces along that recipe that have been dropped into the pot to get you to where you are now. But bringing it back, when you do grow up in Yorkshire on a farm and then you get put in the pot wash when you're younger, if you now look at how much of the world that you see, you mentioned that you got sent to France when you were younger. Was that quite a big eye-opening moment for you? Do you think it's important to kind of get out and see the world?
It's important to get out of your comfort zone. I think, you know, a lot of people find jobs comfortable. I've never felt, the minute I felt comfortable, I've gone, particularly at a young age. And I want to progress and want to move on. And it's still the same thing now. I'm 53. It's still the same thing. We want to progress forward. Without me progressing forward, we just get left behind. I think, you know, in the industry, you know, what's different now to what it was back then is so much more open than what it was back then. France was the place where you had to go, whereas nowadays, America, you got Japan, you got on the doorstep. It's a bit difficult more now with Brexit. You can't, there's freedom of movement and stuff, but it's certainly when you were training, France was the place to go. So you can imagine I was 12, 13 years old when I first stepped out in a 2-star Michelin restaurant in France. I can imagine what they thought of British food back then in the 80s, you know, when it was roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. We weren't the greatest culinary country in the world. So the abuse that you got, the grief that you got, but you stand there, you put up with it, and you don't fight back, but you take it, and the respect that the team will have for you. It's a very weird thing because the 80s was a real weird time, but it's it grows you and it toughens you up. And I was tough on the farm anyway. There was nothing I knew from the age of, you know, 10 years old. You know, if there was any grief at school, I was going to fight back. So I would never start anything, but I was going to fight back.
What would success have looked like to you at 12 years old? If you were to paint the picture and look forward in time, my parents have it on old cine camera footage. I was going around the dining room table. We had a kitchen table in the farm, and it was a Sunday, and everybody was brought back from the farm. And I was going around on a skateboard. I couldn't skateboard.
I was pushing myself around the skateboard, all around past the Arga and everything else. My granddad turned around to me and said, "What do you want to do when you get older?" And it's on cine camera footage. He said, "I want to be head chef at 25. I want my own business at 30, and I'm a Ferrari when I was 35." My granddad turned around and said, "You get a proper job and you play cricket," because he was a professional cricketer when he was younger. You play cricket, and it was either that or it was been a chef or been an artist. And my dad said, all the wealthy artists are all dead, the successful ones, so you're not doing that. And then nobody ever forced me into the kitchen. But even now, you know, they sort of look back and they were there. My mum used to send me down vouchers when I worked down in London. She used to send me down Marks and Spencer's vouchers for food because I couldn't afford to live. You know, I was living hand to mouth in London because I wasn't earning anything. You know, I remember living not too far away from here. I was working here, but I used to cycle 4 or 5 miles to work here. I used to work on Wandsworth Common. I used to cycle 5 miles to work, and that's getting up at 5, finishing at 1 the next morning.
When you're doing that repetitively and it takes like a toll on you and you just get to the point you're like, oh my God. Did you still not let go of that goal?
You still have that goal. And this then separates the, not the, people have got drive in different fields. It's just, I've always got up at, you know, even when we do Silverstone now, we get up at, you know, the alarm goes off at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the kitchen with everybody else, and you finish when everybody else is finished, or something like a lot later than everybody else is finished. You're still doing 21-hour shifts. It's nuts. To anybody else on the outside, you think it's completely crazy, but I love it. It's the best job in the world. So,
do you love pressure?
No, I just love the job. I don't see pressure. I don't have pressure. I don't get stressed. It's really weird. But it comes down to the fact of when you're younger, you're working with an amazing team. You cannot do this alone. You can't do it on your own. Anybody that thinks you can do it on your own, you're deluded. You'll be finished in business in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. You have to do it with a team, and you have to respect that team 100% before you even walk through the door. You have 100% respect for them. And the first thing you do is go around and say hi to everybody. The last thing you do is you have a meeting every night and just see anything we can do to make better, anything that's gone wrong, anything that we can look at. You know, well done, Jack. Well done, Jim. And all this. But you put praise on the team, but you also get the team to fire back with what we could do better. And you do it every single day. To this day, is that still your favourite thing, being in the kitchen? I'm in the kitchen 3 times this week, and I'm not in the kitchen as much as I used to do. But I'm in the kitchen, and I'm apron on Wednesday, apron on Thursday. We got 160 people for lunch on Thursday, and I'm fronting the whole thing, and it's pretty nuts. Well, it is, but it's you know, I've got an amazing girl in the pastry kitchen at one of my restaurants, and I said I'm going to get there in there the day before, and don't make anything because I want to make it with you. And she's 19 years old, so I said I'm going to bring the little tartlet molds. We'll do it together, and I'll show you how I would do it. And this is how. But why wouldn't you stand there with somebody and you know, I look at that when I was a young kid, 19 years old, and chefs that would stand there and teach me. I remember that for the rest of my life. So why wouldn't I depart that 40 years of knowledge onto somebody who's 19 that can then progress forward? And I want them to move forward. I don't want them to work for me for the rest of their lives. I want them to move on and see success elsewhere and get somebody else through the doors and through in. But it's all about the team. You cannot do it without the team. So, you know, it's 160 people for lunch on Thursday. How am I going to do that on my own? I'm not. So you build up an amazing team and get that team to work as a team. It's like it's a weird thing. It's like an orchestra. To see a kitchen work properly, the chef just stands back. It's really odd. These episodes are brought to you from the back of my studio van, which we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, but it really would mean so much to the channel and mean that I can keep improving the guests that you see coming on going forward if you could just hit that subscribe button for me. It's totally free. I know a lot of you are listening to this rather than even watching it, but if you could just pick up your phone, tap that subscribe button, it makes the world of difference. Over 64% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, and it would really help me if you could. So thank you. Is it a harder thing to make that happen in hospitality than it is in TV, the TV crew? No, the TV crews, it's the same mentality. When I went into television, I never thought now I'd have my own production company. And now for the last 20 years, we've had a production company. We make the Saturday show. We make hours and hours and hours of shows a week. We now make adverts and everything else. But the team is still the key. And some of them I've had with me for 30 years, 32 years. Some I've had with me recently for 4 weeks. But I want the team to slot in together. And it's a bit like a football team. I don't really do football, but it's a bit like a football team. When you take the striker off and you put another striker on, it doesn't really change that much. Demographics change a little bit, but not the end product doesn't change. You're still going in the same direction. Without building that, I mean, it's the same ethos as been in the kitchen. You build up a team around you that you respect. I have the utmost respect for all my team in my business because they're all brilliant at what they do, far better than what I am. I just stand there and cook and talk on television. I can't do camera work. I can't do sound. I can't do edit. I can't do directing. I can't do, but yeah, I've got to employ all these people.
Take me from the guy that was riding the bike, ask his mum for an M&S voucher, to the first person you employed. What am I missing in the bit there? What was that big break, that big thing
rapid growth, really. So I worked in London for 5 years in some amazing places, phenomenal places that you wouldn't have known about until the 80s, but people like Alistair Little and some amazing places, Waterside Inn, and working with some amazing chefs, amazing brigades, amazing talent, front and back of house, and you learn so much. And then I ended up leaving. I actually left hospitality altogether. Not many people know this.
Why?
I jacked it all in. I joined Manchester Police. My dad was a policeman a long time before I was born, and I jacked it all in. And just before I started training, I applied for 3 other jobs, one of which was Chewton Glen. The other one was Gleedley Park down in Devon. The other one was Glen Eagles. So there was 3 hotels out of London that had sort of 5 red star hotels. I worked in the best restaurants, the best brasseries at the time. And I'm only 20 years old, and I was 20 years old, and I wanted to work, just give it one more final shot. So I didn't go to Manchester. I applied for 3 jobs. Gleedley Park wrote me a letter saying no. Glen Eagles said no. Chewton Glen said, come down for the interview. I drove down for the interview. It's a true story, this. Drove down a little Vauxhall Nova with a boot on the back. I bought it from Exchange and Mart for 30 quid. It was 3 cars welded together. And I
like Trigger's broom.
It was a bit. And I drove it down. I drove it down from Yorkshire. I drove it down to the main gates of Chewton Glen. Chewton Glen's so big that the actual gates are in Dorset and the hotel's in Hampshire. And you drive through along this driveway and then back up. And anyway, I was to my right. There was the health club. I didn't know at the time, but this lady walked out of the health club in very little, and I turned around and I hit the lamppost on the driveway, and the lamppost ripped the bottom of my car out, poured oil everywhere all over the drive. And the owners back then, the scans came out and said, "You're here for the job. I believe you'll be taking it because you might be here for a while." And that was Chewton Glen. So that has a reflection where I'm back at Chewton Glen some 30 odd years later. But after Chewton Glen, there was myself and Robin Hudson. Robin Hudson's arguably the greatest hotelier that England's ever produced, without a shadow of a doubt. Amazing chap. Gerard Basset back then was the world's greatest wine sommelier. And Robin and Gerard and myself, they had an idea, and we had an idea to set up a new venture called the Hotel de Van. I was 21 years old. I got the job as sous chef, and throughout that week we'd been interviewing at Chewton Glen in the afternoon break. Whatever, all the chefs had gone for their afternoon break. I was then left to work with the chefs being brought down to London for the head chef's position, and it was over a period of 5 days. And we had one on Monday, one on Tuesday, and it got to Friday, and I was there to basically show them where the pans were, show them where the ingredients were, because they had to cook a meal for them both in the chef's office with guy called Pierre Cheviard, who was the head chef of Chewton Glen at the time, French guy. And it was Friday, and the chef for the job interview didn't turn up. So Pierre Cheviard came up to me and said, "You know where all the ingredients are, just cook us some lunch." And I cooked them lunch, and anyway, I put it into the office. And Pierre told me afterwards, a long time afterwards, about 2 years afterwards, Pierre then turned around to the owners and said, "The head chef has been underneath your fucking noses all week and you haven't realised."
It's quite a significant moment, isn't it?
And that was the moment that was the moment that I thought somebody believed in me. Because back then you're trying to prove.
Did that change your mental confidence? Because I was about to say that person that was in that kitchen then, how different was he?
Oh, you had to grow up. You had to grow. You had to. Back then you were working for other people. Back then you were listening. You were learning and everything else. That moment when you walk into a kitchen and the keys and the hotel and we were fully booked for nearly a year. You couldn't get in. Lunch and dinner. So you imagine that as a 21-year-old. I've never been a head chef, never been a sous chef. And I walk in, I've got 3 people now looking at me. Not me looking at other people, all right, I'm part of a team. Now they're all looking at me.
I find it fascinating how you said that you don't really get stressed, doesn't really affect you. Do you think that comes from toughness? Do you think toughness and stress are like linked together?
I think it's mentally, I think you look at your life. If you want to see tough, then go work as a farmer
which is where I was going.
In Wales, in particularly in January, you go up to Wales and you do that. And you're earning, at the end of it, you're putting your money on the table, what you've earned for the year, and it's next to nothing. That's mentally tough. It's mentally tough and physically tough, because I just think that you have a good life being a chef. Yes, it's hard work, but it's not hard work. It's not hard work compared with coal mining and stuff like that. You want to see hard work? There's plenty of harder jobs than being a chef. So don't think for 1 minute that it's the hardest job in the world. It's not. If you do that, you're an idiot. You're warm, you're comfortable, you get something to eat, and you're with a great team. There.
It doesn't always go to plan.
It doesn't always go to plan, but you make it what you make it, don't you? You can, everybody's worked with complete arseholes in their lives, and it's whether you stay or whether you go. I mean, some places I've gone to and I'm putting up with this, I'm off, and you leave. But you just think there's no better way, and it's a good learning curve, really, for future. If you go through that, because you go through that and you then go, well, when I get a place of my own, what do I want to do it? Because it's no good, I've worked in so many kitchens where the chefs are shouting and screaming and they're effing and blinding. And then you turn around and there's nobody working with you. The team's gone.
So you have a big confidence moment. Head chef, bang, running the place, been told he should have been doing it all along at 21.
I was probably, if hindsight, was probably 2 years too young. But yeah, I was 21.
Why'd you say that?
Because I felt I had another 2 years experience to find. I didn't know what was coming. That was the thing. I didn't know there was television 6 months down the line. I didn't know that. I was not even aware, but that was going to happen.
If you'd have told your dad that was going to happen, would he have just that was just never in the family?
Nobody knew it was going to happen, because back then there was food and drink. Wasn't a lot on television, really. It was probably Rick Stein and Keith Floyd were doing their thing, but there wasn't a television stuff. I was 21, coming at 22. What am I going to? I didn't go looking. I didn't understand about agents and stuff like that. I was living above a Chinese restaurant, an Indian curry house. My rent was £60 a month, and I was working 18 hours a day, and I was doing that 7 days a week. I had no days off. I just worked 7 days a week because I loved it, and it's just. That's every. You've got to remember, going back to this 12-year-old kid. I want to be head chef at 25. I want to be my own restaurant at 30. I got there at 21 in my head. So I'm thinking I've got to hold on to this, and I've got to
momentum.
I've got to understand it, and there's a big steep learning curve, because you're then being a head chef is probably 25% about the food. It's then 25% about the team. It's 25% about food costs. It's 25% about understanding front of house and energy and how everything all works. It's not just about cooking. You go from just cooking all your life to then understanding about profit and loss, and realizing that if somebody drops a tray of meat like that, it's going to cost you. That's your profit gone for 3 days. It's
a holistic view of everything.
It's a quick learning curve. It's a steep learning curve into a business.
So how did being 7 days a week, absolutely flat out, completely laser focused on the thing that you're doing, transpire into yet another kind of pivot, which was TV?
That was off the wall. It was completely off the wall, because we were fully booked for God knows, a year. We were doing 7 days a week, and with the hotel, you're doing breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then the person at somebody turned at the bar. It was it was Mary, who was running the front of house. And she turned around and said, there's 4 customers at the bar said they'd booked a table. And I went, clearly they haven't. And those customers were Rick Stein, Keith Floyd, Lloyd Grossman, and a lady called Mary Ramsey. And they'd been filming in the area doing bits and pieces. Obviously, this is before TV and before Google and all that sort of stuff. they'd heard about this restaurant being the place to go. So they came in, we sat them at the bar. I gave them some food. I gave them risotto. I gave them dessert. And I had a bandana on. I had a bandana because my hair was so long, I didn't have time to get it cut.
80s.
Yeah, exactly. It was true. But it wasn't a gimmick. I couldn't afford a bandana. So it was it was a pillowcase that I drew because the only other exam that I was any good at was art. I got an F in art, which is more than well got in anything else. And I used to draw, and I drew on this bandana and twisted it, and that's went around my head. And I had real long hair. And I gave him this. Anyway, this woman gave me a business card, and she said, "Look, I'm doing this new program. Have you got an agent?" I went, "I know a few estate agents. They come in here quite a lot, but couldn't have a house. I don't know any agents." And then, weirdly enough, it happened really quick. About 2 weeks later, she phoned up and said, "Look, I want to send a car to come and pick you up." So I remember doing a full night shift to get ready for lunch because I had to be back for lunch. I said to her, "Look, I've got to be back for 11 o'clock, so I've got to be back for service." So I worked, when we finished service about 11 o'clock at night, I worked all through the night to prep up for the lunch and dinner the following day. I got in the car about 6 o'clock in the morning. It went up to London. I did the interview. Like what we're doing now, it's in a TV studio, but they tipped out this bag of ingredients. There was a lot of people asking me questions. And I got in the car. First time I'd ever been in a chauffeur-driven car, got back into the restaurant, carried on working. About 2 weeks later, the phone rang, said, "Look, we really need an agent to speak to." And I went, "I've got no idea what you're talking about." So I phoned up my dad, and my dad knew a guy called, this is before you were born, a guy called Selvin Froggatt. Bill Maynard was the chap. He played Selvin Froggatt in Heartbeat, and Heartbeat that was the place where I worked when I was 10, a place called Mally and Spark in Gothland. And he knew a guy called Richard Whiteley, he was, first of all, he was the main presenter of Countdown back then. And he then got their agent to phone me up and said, "Look, I know nothing about this, but I'm getting asked to do this TV program. What do you think?" And he said, "Well, we'll take you on and see what it's like to start with." And then all of a sudden it went mental. It went absolutely mental. Within 2 weeks of doing Ready, Steady, Cut, I was doing Sky's first ever program. I was doing the Big Breakfast, cooking with Zig and Zag. It went insane. And of course, the more people were phoning up, and I couldn't do it because I'm still doing 7 days a week at the hotel. So a decision had to be made quite quickly.
How do you process that, though?
It's out your hands because you just...
Did you have any kind of social life with working that much?
No, I had no social life. I still don't.
How do you kind of process?
The first time I went out for a meal, a night out with my mates to a pub, was this last Saturday night. I haven't been out for 27 years to a pub with my mates, as in a city pub. I don't. And now I'm, after 35 years, I'm now going out because, realizing there's 35 years of your life sort of not disappeared, but gone.
Yeah, because you filled it through with so much stuff that you enjoyed doing.
It's just gone insane. It's just gone insane. I remember going, it went so fast that I couldn't afford a flat. I couldn't afford a car. I then went straight out, and we talk about cars. I remember getting my first, or maybe my fifth paycheck from the agent. Back then I left this agency and went with an agency called Limelight, and still to this day we have an agreement on a handshake. And it's this lady called Fiona, I have huge respect for her, comes down to respect again. She shook my hand and said, "I'll take you on for a trial." We worked together for 32 years since then. Now we're in business together. And it's all done on a handshake. She then gave me a check once, and we were in a garden. It was a garden party in London that I was told to go up and do. And I catered for them, came back, and she gave me a check. And that check I banked, and it was more money I'd ever seen in my life. And I woke up one day, back then I could have a day off a week. So I woke up and thought, I'm going to buy a Ferrari. I was 25 years old. That's how fast it changed. And I then drove to this dealership. My mate, I'll tell you this story even better, because he had a pickup truck. He was a builder. He was older than me. He's 30. I was 24, 25. And we drove up to Maranello, Egan. We got told to park around the back. And it was a beaten up Hilux, Toyota Hilux pickup truck. Anyway, I walked in there. Nobody would serve me. And they're all looking at this 24. I'm in a t-shirt and jeans, and nobody would serve me. There's a guy called John Morgan. And I always remember his name because I'm still mates with him now. He lives in the Mumbles in Wales. So thank you, John. And he came up to me and said, "You all right?" I went, yeah, fine. And looking at somebody spoken to me in this showroom. He went, you like that? And I went, yeah. He said it was a 360, open top 360. Anyway, and he said, do you want to drive in it? And I went, yeah. So you got a driving license? Yeah, there you go, no problem. And I remember driving it out the showroom, driving it back, thinking, I can afford this. I can actually afford this. And I come back thinking, the smile that you had on your face, I'm 24, 25 years old, having had a Vauxhall Nova and a 1.9 diesel Fiesta and all this sort of stuff. And then as I drove in, my mates turned around and he went, so what do you reckon? I had a buzzing fat smile on my face.
Yeah, because your mate's only going to make you do one thing.
And my mates have just gone, the car is amazing. You look like a twat driving it. I went, that's sold. I won't buy it then. And I didn't buy it.
Really? It had that much for the fact?
This is what got me into the big star car collecting, yeah. Because he said, so then you then go away and think about it. And then he turned around and he said, there's two things you need to get now in your world. You need to get, first priority should be getting a house, which my mum bollocked me and slammed the phone down on me. She knew that I was getting a car. But I went out and I got a classic car magazine before the internet. We opened up the first page. It was Essen Motor Show in Germany. It was April 8th to the 12th. I remember this to this date, 35 years ago. And I opened up the magazine and there was a car show. So we drove the pickup truck to Essen in Germany. I walked into Essen in Germany. There's a big NEC thing. Huge. We walked into this one hall and it just so happened to be Mercedes-Benz hall. So I walked in there. Ralph Lauren's on the main stage. He's looking at two Gullwing Mercedes and he's just bought one of them, I think. And I walked up to this car and that's the most stunning car I'd ever seen, 1955 Gullwing.
Yeah.
And this German car dealer who's worked for Mercedes-Benz, came up to me like John. I was 24, 25. And he said, do you know much about the car? I said, no, nothing. He opened the bonnet, he showed me the car, and he said, this. Within 10 minutes, I bought it. Didn't know what I was buying. Had no flat, and no house, no flat. Was still living above the Chinese takeaway in Indian curry house in a rented flat. And
you just bought a Gullwing?
I just bought a Gullwing Mercedes. That was my first ever serious car. And I had a Vauxhall Nova at the back of it. And then word got around that there's this 25-year-old kid on Ready Steady Cook, this bit of a car nut. I only bought one car. And then I remember I was more chuffed that Vauxhall had just launched the Corsa, so they gave me a Corsa GSX. So I was driving. Someone's given me a car. I can't believe it. I can't believe people are going to go give you a car, and so I got given a Vauxhall Corsa. And I'd left the hotel, but I decided to take the punt and see how it goes, and the rest is history.
And then, did your diary fill in the same way that it filled with the hotels?
Went insane.
If I asked you at that age why, what would your answer been?
I have no idea. If you asked my agent, I was the right age, the right look, the people after a young chef. I don't know. I have no idea, to be honest with you. I was in a bubble that, you're 24, 25 years old and you're going, but looking back, you look back at all the work that you've done previous to that. I think it's more important now than it ever was back then. Back then it was just one after another. You're doing Ready Steady Cook. There was just so much stuff going on. Ready Steady Cook used to get 15 million people on a Friday night. So I used to go out and it would be guaranteed that I'd be front page, or certainly the chefs from Ready Steady Cook would be front page of the News of the World or the Sun on Sunday morning, because they'd be falling out of some club somewhere in London. It was insane. It was
the sentence of you work for 10 years and become an overnight success?
Yeah, but people don't see
the 10 years prior.
Well, 20 years before that. They didn't see me in the kitchen. I was in the kitchen when I was 8. They hadn't seen any of that. And still don't.
What was your family thinking viewing all of that? Because
it's a bloody idiot. That's
because
my mum didn't really.
It seems like they were great levelers.
Yeah, my mum was always a great leveler. She would always shoot me down and in flames, and my dad would be the same. So and they would always. You never got too big for your boots, because that's not the way I was brought up. But they would always put you back into perspective. But I'm very much a family orientated person. The main thing you do is look after your family first, and then look after yourself. That's the thing. And that's the way I was always taught as a kid. You look after your mum, that's it. And what you want is second. They've looked after you. They've supported you all their life. Now it's payback. You look after them. And it's even more so now. Did it again this morning. I phoned her up before we came here. It's just vitally, vitally important for you to fully understand how precious life is, but to fully understand it. And it comes down to respect thing. It comes down to all this, respect anybody who does a job and puts themselves out there. I have huge respect for it. And this is the thing now where I think on the Saturday show that you can then pick up the phone and speak to the greatest chefs in the world and they'll come on your show. They don't come on your show because you're paying them thousands of pounds. But you don't pay them anything. They come on the show because they want to come on the show. They don't have to come on the show. But the respect that you have for them and that you show respect for them, they show respect for you. I mean, but that comes with 30 years of doing it. And before that, 20 years in the industry,
Believe it or not, James Martin is not the only one in this van that is into food. See, away from doing the podcast, I actually own an award-winning street food business called Gullwing with my business partner, James. Now, we've got a variety of trucks that are based in the southwest that cover locations we go to every week, private events, we sell sauce direct to the consumer, and even have a couple of restaurants too. Now, my other business, Tweak Marketing, was able to collaborate with Gullwing, building them a brand new website and brand new online store. So we're able to sell those award-winning sauces all over the UK. Tweak are even currently working with Gullwing on an AI-powered app to enhance the experience even further. So if you're watching this and you have your own business or you work for one that needs some help with your digital marketing, whether it be SEO, PPC, a new website, help with e-com, or understanding what you can do to implement AI into your business, then check out Tweak Marketing using the link below. But what I've also done is pop a link down there to Gert Sauces, which is that online store that sells all of these amazing sauces we make all over the UK. And I've included a discount code appearing now on screen called Ben10 so that you can get yourself a discount too. Creative, right? With any dish that you make, with any dish that anyone ever makes, occasionally you can just think and have a light bulb moment of, but if I just add that one thing, bang, this is going to completely change the dynamic of what this is.
Thai crab risotto has bought me half of my calculation.
Which, if you actually look at your journey, one extra ingredient was added to it that changed the actual outcome from where you were completely on a different
It's the same ethos,
road.
It's the same mentality, it's the same work ethic. If you ask any of my mates to say, I was with Richard Bertonet the other day and he said, I've not known anybody that works like you have. My diary's 3/4 full in 2027. We're not even 2026 yet. But you look at, I'm excited about it because I'm excited about new ventures. I'm excited about different things. I get excited about not the chase, it's the job. And the job is different now than it was before. But the job is brilliant because you can create happiness to so many people. You don't really have to do anything. That's on Thursday, for instance, we got 30,000 people waiting on the waiting list for the next dinner that I'm doing in Manchester. But the 150 people who got tickets to go see it, you're just doing what you do. You're doing what you do with the team. But the enjoyment of working with that team. But I say to the team before we even start service, we have a meeting about 6 o'clock. I said the enjoyment that you as a team and we all bring to that room, you'll get if you could take 2% of that, I think the rest of your life. Your life will change because it's a really unusual thing. It's and now of course you've got theatre tours and now it's surreal. You're walking out. We've just done a 28-day theatre tour. You're walking out. I used to cycle past the Apollo, and now Saturday night you're feeling it.
Does that do anything to your brain, or do you just cope with that? Absolutely no problem at all.
Weirdly enough, but the person who's been with me for a lady called Sam Head, who's been with me 32 years. Who does all the cookbooks, all the food, all the not necessarily, she doesn't do the restaurants, but she does the cookbooks, the TV shows. She's with me on stage. And she said, I've not known anybody like you, as in she does all the good food shows and all the chefs. You could just be talking to me now, and then next minute walk out and lights are on, it's different. It's a totally different thing. And my mates go, what the hell have I just seen? It's a weird thing from a quiet lad at school to be doing that, but that comes through. It comes through masses of experience working 7 days a week in the industry, in television, understanding how cameras work, understanding how laughter works, comedy, writing, everything. It's about taking all that knowledge in.
It's so funny though, because
bundling it all up and throwing it at an audience.
That's enjoying learning. If you didn't enjoy learning, you wouldn't be able to get excited about doing it.
You never stop learning.
Yet, the entire first part of your life was talking about the fact that learning was actually one of the things that people put you down for.
That's the thing. Yeah, you're always put down for it. But what you didn't realise is that there's that quiet lad in the corner that's taking everything in. You know, I'm dyslexic, but you'll only have to tell me once.
And yet you've written 30 plus.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
When did you decide to take on that challenge of writing your first? I'm going to write a book. I'm dyslexic.
Well, I was
always told I can't do this, but fuck it, I am writing a book.
Well, it's not. The weird thing is about this industry is that there's a group in this industry, and we're talking about the television and the media industry. There's a group that want it, and there's a group that don't want it. And I'm the group that don't want it. I just happen to be in it, and I'm okay at it, but I don't chase it. I'm not one of these Instagram people that go running around at all. I don't need to go chasing it, and it doesn't matter. If it disappears tomorrow, that's fine. I'll go back to my restaurants. But it's there, and I've been doing it 30 odd years. It's amazing. It's an amazing journey. But don't think for 1 minute it's going to last forever. It's not going to last forever, and I don't go chasing it. I think there's a mystique with it because I don't chase it. I don't talk about. First thing is I don't talk about relationships. That is a fundamental thing. My family and my relationship is more important to me than anything. The minute people do that, I walk out. And even now, you know, we're doing a book tour. I can mention newspapers that I won't speak to because they want me to talk about that as opposed to talking about the book. I said, why do I want to talk about that to promote a book? Get a life. I'm not doing it. Don't need to do it. But what's important to me than anything is my family, my relationship, and that comes first. And then everything else around it is secondary. But
why did you learn not to talk about that?
I think you get burnt. I think you learn. I think people can write stuff about you, and even more so now. You know, back then they would write stuff about you. I mean, you look at the newspapers, you go, "What are you writing about? What is this?" It's just not even. I mean, not remotely true. A source says, yeah, whatever. I just don't. Somebody quite famous who I interviewed, very, very famous, taught me a valuable lesson. This was probably 25 years ago. And he said, build big gates in your house. Big gates. Not see-through gates, big gates. And I said, what does that mean? He said, just build them. Because I was building my house, and he said, just do it. And even now, yesterday, tonight, when I go back home, those gates open, when they shut, it's that bang. And I look back and you can't see in. That's my space. That's my bit.
Does your brain need that?
Well, everybody needs that. And I think it's such a shame when you but this is the thing comes out of that. So the other part of people, so you've got two different types of people that are in media. The other one let all that in. And they let all that in to promote themselves. And, well, what are you doing? What? When that turns, which it will turn, and it will, trust me, because the higher up they are, the Brits are brilliant at kicking you in the balls and bringing you back down to earth again. Don't blame it. You've got nowhere to go.
But when you get in behind those gates, into your private bit, into your private life, there are some cars behind those gates.
There's some big dogs as well, but yeah.
There are some big dogs, but there are also some big dog cars behind those gates, including a Ferrari 275, if I'm right. And it's not just any 275. The painted shields, the grey, it is just like, it's everything you'd want out of a car. But do you still, you mentioned relationships a minute ago, but I'm going to ask you about one. It's the relationship with your cars. Mm-hmm. Do you have any issue if they all go away?
No, because it's a moment in time. So I've just sold half of my collection recently and rebought more. But there's certain ones that mean something to you, and that one, that 275 comp car, is the story is as important as the car itself. So, you know, I was at Goodwood. I raced at Goodwood over the years, and I've loved Goodwood. And I walked onto the stand, and it had sold. A guy called Paul Osborne, he'd sold it. then it's a true story. The phone rang when I was on Saturday Kitchen for the Bee. We're talking 20 odd years ago now. This is before when you used to have not these like proper brick phones, Nokia things, and it was buzzing underneath the counter, going, and I couldn't shut it up. So I got told off when we were linking. I linked to the break of when we were linking into a VT. Looked at the phone. It was the old text message that came through, and it was Paul Osborne. He said, I'm in Germany. The car that you've always wanted, that you saw at Goodwood's for sale, you got an hour to decide whether you want it. True story, this. Now, and I just bought my house.
Problem.
So I just bought my house. I had enough money to do the house, but I didn't have enough money to do both. And I bought the car. This is how a chef mentality works. So I bought a dream home that I was a wreck that I was going to do up. It's taken me 2 years to do up. The same week I bought the house, I bought the car. Then I lived in a motorhome for 2 years.
It's a little bit like the guy that bought the SL at the beginning.
So it's almost there 15 years later. So I had the Ferrari in my mate's lockup, and I was living in a motorhome on my driveway. True story, and that means a lot in terms of what you are, but the story of the car and everything else, and the fact that the value of it, you just buy it because you like it, and it's a movable bit of art. There's people who spend more money on people buy properties and big property empire. I'm not that type of person. I couldn't understand why people weren't buying these cars because I just thought they were amazing. Nowadays it's slightly different, but. And then I remember buying a 288 GTO for, we're just saying in Joe Macari's, I paid $350 for it.
Yeah, we had to be slightly less distracted this morning because we've got a showroom of cars in Joe Macari behind us that are very dangerous to keep us out of the way.
He's already picked up 2 cars already for me. You don't really understand it, and I like them for what they are. To me, they're pieces of art, and for me as a young kid, I remember peering through the window at all these showrooms when I worked in London. And even before then, I remember being on holiday. I kind of been 7, 8 years old. It'd probably be 8, maybe 9 years old. And maybe a little bit teens. I was probably 11. And because of the nature of the car, I remember going on a boating holiday because we didn't go anywhere fancy on holiday as a family. So we went on a boating holiday in the River Thames. And we parked up outside of... Windsor, and my granny, there used to be a toy shop on Windsor Bridge. My granny took me to the toy shop and she bought me a little toy 288 GTO as a young kid. That toy is by the side of my bed every night, but the real one is in the garage.
And you still think you're not competitive?
I'm not competitive. I think
there's a link to competitiveness.
No, it's not competitive. It's not competitive. Who am I competing against? Who am I competing against?
Yourself.
I would compete against yourself for sure, but you don't want to be. I think a lot of people who you chat to that are like myself is that they're scared about going back to where they were. That's what scares me. I don't want to be. I want to be
moving forward.
I want to be moving forward all the time, and that's not necessarily a financial thing. It's not by any means. It's just I just want to be moving forward. And learning from what you did today to improve yourself tomorrow.
Do you find that writing is a great leveler?
Like I'm a bloody nightmare at writing. No, I the way I write books is very different. So I dictate a lot of it, and without Sam being involved in it for 32 years. See, a lot of people don't know. For the 20 years I'm with on Saturday mornings. Every single recipe that I've ever done every recipe that I've done for 20 years, I've not rehearsed it. The first time I've done it is the first time you see it. Not many people know this because they think you rehearse. All the chefs rehearse this stuff. I don't rehearse anything. Nothing. There is one set of ingredients. Every Saturday, I have got one set of ingredients. And I've never done that dish before until the press action. And Sam is there with a piece of paper. She's got a little red file. It's called This Is Your Life Book 2 because we've been doing it for so long. And in there's scribbles on it. And she's behind the camera and she puts all the ingredients in front of me and I'll go, no, add that. No, I don't want that. Change that. Do that. Okay, right, I've set. And then she's there with a pen and piece of paper and she's writing the recipe down while I'm cooking it.
And that's what forms these amazing books, just like the latest one that's dropped.
That's exactly what it is. It's just, it's in here. It's trying to get out. It's thinking about new stuff. And that enables me to cook and interview people at the same time, because if I had a recipe to follow and I had to do it like this, 9 times out of 10, you would probably miss an ingredient or mess it up. Whereas I've got the freedom to be able to cook and talk to somebody and, most importantly, listen. It's not many people can do stuff and listen. Listening is a big thing. And listening comes back to when I was a young kid. Without you learning, you've got to listen.
What drives like where you go next? Is it happiness or is it just
it's in a bloody car showroom
and not going back?
Where I go next, I have a drive, I have a goal each year, and that goal is usually 4 wheels. It's usually 4 wheels, and it's something that I'd sort of drive for.
So when you get to the point of having a 275 GTB and multiple other things that are in your collection, what do you get concerned when you start to hit the ceiling? Or is there always another goal that you can find?
I've been into this bloody showroom. Have you been into this showroom behind you?
Showroom, yeah.
There's always it's like the big boat scenario. There's always somebody with bigger and better stuff. But it's all about loving what you do, and it doesn't matter really what anybody else thinks. What matters is what your family believe in you and the people that you surround yourself with. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of you. You know, I mean. The weird thing is, you could drive that Ferrari, I could take you out in this Ferrari today, and I guarantee you, probably 80% of the people spit at it, shout it, and throw things at it. Yeah. And all you're doing is driving down the road.
Is that quite sad from your perspective that that's the UK? Or is that, do you think, everywhere you go in the world?
I think it's the UK in general.
We're a very negative nation.
I think that people don't like success. I don't think, you know, they and that stems from the top. You know, I mean, don't get me into politics, but you know, you get penalised for being successful in this country. It's just, I don't get it, because, you know, the successful people, and we're talking way more than I am, but all those mega successful people are all gone, you know. They're not coming back to the UK. You're talking about the, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of millionaires gone. They ain't coming back. What I worry about is all the billionaires gone, because they're the people that are seriously putting money back in and employing people and building businesses and everything else like that. You know, it comes down to the fact you can't do it on your own.
So what keeps you to stay here?
Great team, you know. I've got great family here, but I've just got a bloody great team with me, and it's just, you know, and you know, my right hand man Adam, he's just had a new baby boy, and you know, when he first started me, he just had his first kid. Now he's got his second. You know, it's just yeah, I've got a bloody good team, you know. And well, what am I going to do? Sat in Marbella, and I get bored, and I love my job. It comes down to loving my job. I love my job. I love my work, and all I try and do is every day is try to be better than I was yesterday. And that was my grandmother's ethos. Is my Granny Smith, God bless her. It sounds daft talking about your granny, but if I could be 10% of what my granny is, I'd be 110% of that person. And she didn't have a job. She was magical to be around. And you just had to be around. You know, somebody walks into a room, there's probably 2 or 3 people I've met in my life. My granny was one of them. The Queen was the other one. I sat and had lunch with the Queen. There was 6 of us at Buckingham Palace, and she walked into a room and could stop everything. And it sounds daft, but my gran was the same, because she'd walk into the room and you were, I don't know whether it was where you were brought up, but you were told respect, and you shut up and listen. And I valued that so much. And the one thing I value more than anything else, I wished I'd had more time to ask more questions. But I wasn't old enough at the time to fully understand it. Now you realise you should have asked more questions.
Well, James, I wish I had more time to ask more questions today, because we were limited to about an hour with your insane schedule. But I'm sure that we'll finish your story one day and sit you back down in this van and go through it.
We'll talk cars a bit more, I suppose. Yeah.
I think we both like to do that. But thank you so much for giving me the hour that you had. Everybody, if you enjoyed this episode, you want to see James back on again to get right down into his cars and a little bit more of that.
Can I just show you this as well?
Yes.
We're doing more PR, and I wasn't going to... I'll normally show you this.
Sorry, I'm just managing your time.
No, we're just going to show you this. So this is
This is the bag of many things.
This is the bag of things. Look, I'll show you this. This is quite...
Look what you brought with you. Did you bring that especially for today?
That's it.
So cool, isn't it? It's amazing.
That is what started it. That.
That's probably one of the most valuable things you own.
Yep.
Amazing.
There you go.
Jay, thank you so much
It's
for
a
coming
pleasure.
on Road to Success, giving me your time, and I'm
It's a
sure we'll meet
pleasure.
again in the future.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing to Road to Success.